What's poppin', y'all? Well. This might be the 10-7. No, we're not talking 6-7. We're talking the October 7th for Drake fans. Because what they've seemed to hold in regard as him fighting for other artists, taking down the industry, exposing botting, his last-ditch effort to get some sort of redemption from the massive L he took during the Kendrick Lamar beef was just thwarted by none other than UMG. They tried to paint Drake as a genius for this. They said, nah, he's about to get $1 billion deal when he proves that they were botting and Sony's got a deal and he's about to press the red button and he's got a bunch of information that he's gonna put out, and y'all just wait and see once they get into court, and then they're gonna have to show what they were doing and their bot practices. Well, we didn't even get that far because, man, Lucian just spanked the hell out of Drake and said, listen, man, get back in the studio, get back in the tents, and go link back up with Majid Jordan to make us some classic hits. Majid Jordan, amazing artist, by the way. If you don't listen to these guys' solo music on their own, you're missing out. Not solo as in separate individuals, because it's two people. Solo, I mean separate from Drake. Man, these guys are amazing. But I'm not here to glaze their music. Well, not glaze. I'm not here to just appreciate their music. That's enough appreciation. We're back into the Drake L that he had to take again. This may be the final L from the beef because he decided to extend it. The Super Bowl was supposed to be the final L he took, and then he just decided to go on with this lawsuit, which from day one I said was a sucker move. So here in the paperwork, we're just going to skim right over it. But it says, the case arises from perhaps the most infamous rap battle in the genre's history. The vitriolic war of words that erupted between the superstar recording artists and Aubrey Drake Graham and Kendrick Lamar Duckworth in the spring of 2024. Over the course of 16 days, the two artists released 8 so-called diss tracks. Let me just hold you guys back. And remember, I said this a year ago. You guys probably won't even remember. I said it on Twitter, at the Mind of HY. And I said, everyone is talking about how these guys are dropping so fast. I was like, yo, they gotta chill. I want them to slow this down because we're getting too much music. Like, the amount of energy that was happening in that short span of time, we're gonna wish it extended for a month or 2 months. And what happened after? It's been stale. But just think about it. Over 16 days, we got 8 tracks from 2 of the biggest artists in the game and 2 of the greatest artists in the genre's history at their peak. Now, this is why I don't want to hear anything from the 80s, 90s, 2000s I'm willing to hear. 2010s I'm willing to hear. But even then, those guys were not giving us this type of output. And we're not talking trash that was dropped. Well, Drake dropped 3 tracks in one. But we're talking about heaters that were dropped between these two. So we got to give a round of applause and a level of appreciation for how much these guys did for us in just a mere 16 days. Like, continuing. With increasingly heated rhetoric, loaded accusations, and violent imagery. The penultimate song of this feud, Not Like Us, by Kendrick Lamar, dealt the metaphorical killing blow. The song contains lyrics explicitly accusing Drake of being a PDF set to a catchy beat and propulsive bass line. I just like how this is described. Not Like Us went on to become a cultural sensation, achieving immense commercial success. They both have recording contracts with UMG, and Drake alleged that UMG intentionally published and promoted Not Like Us while knowing that the song's insinuations that he had relations with minors were false and defamatory. Drake has brought this action against UMG for defamation, and this is also a criticism that was levied on Drake by his biggest fan and biggest supporter, both in terms of how much he supports Drake and how big he is as a personality, academics. He's like, yo, why doesn't he just sue Kendrick Lamar? He's not suing UMG. What he's upset about is the song by Kendrick Lamar, the lyrics by Kendrick Lamar, and the resulting reputational damage that he feels he received by Kendrick Lamar. He's just aiming it at UMG and trying to say that, oh no, they promoted it, which is what they're supposed to do. Their duty to Kendrick Lamar, one of their biggest artists, is to promote his music, especially a diss track, but moving forward. Harassment in the second degree and violation of Section 349 of the New York General Business Law. And before the court is defendant's motion to dismiss, because the court concludes that the allegedly defamatory statements in Not Like Us are non-actionable opinion. The motion to dismiss is granted, they spanked that. They said, get this out of here. This nonsense needs, and there has been a rollout for this lawsuit. I swear to you. In the beginning, they were saying, oh, Drake's company, what was it? Like iced something. I don't even know. I'm not even going to bother looking that BS up. They said, nah, this company's owned by Drake, and they decided to put in a file to petition so that they were going to put out a lawsuit, and this caused a bunch of ruckus. And then eventually, when we got to the point of the actual lawsuit, and then now it gets dismissed. Drake still has the option, I think, to appeal, but that's just even more of a sucker move. You're like, oh man, he took the L, and then now he's gonna come back and try to appeal? It's like the guy's not even. I can understand the dude was sitting in jail or something trying to appeal that case. Yeah, appeal that all day, but you failed. In this document, they actually reference another similar case because this is what they'll do. They'll reference case law from the past, and what's funny enough is that people were calling out Drake's background from his mother's side as to why he sued UMG, even though that same background from his mother's side is who the owner of UMG is, and even funny enough is the same background of Michael Rappaport, who had the case against Barstool, or they were trying to use that against him. So it says here, in Rappaport versus Barstool Sports, the district court found that an audience would not reasonably conclude that statements suggesting that the plaintiff had the bumps. He had him bumps down there and had abused his ex-girlfriend constituted assertions of facts when published in a 6-minute diss track music video. The district court observed that the statements were delivered in the midst of a public and very acrimonious dispute between the parties that would have been obvious to even the most casual observer. The video in question reviewed the recent history of the acrimonious dispute that resulted in Rappaport's termination just days before the video's publication, and also included a Photoshop photo of the defendant in a derogatory manner. That clear background contextualized for the audience that the statements in the video are being offered in the midst of a hostile public feud between Rappaport and Barstool. And they continue. Just as in Steinhalber, Rappaport, and Terrain, the recording was published as part of a heated public feud in which both participants exchanged progressively caustic, inflammatory insults and accusations. This is precisely the type of context in which an audience may anticipate the use of epithets, fiery rhetoric, or hyperbole rather than factual assertions. A rap diss track would not create more of an expectation in the average listener that the lyrics state sober facts instead of opinion than the statements at issue in those cases. So they're saying that these other cases, which involved people going at each other, they were not even in rap music. So they're saying that, listen, rap music, if they're dissing each other, think about it, man. One of the most iconic lines. That's why I effed yo chick, you fat mother effer, right? Like, we know that wasn't real. And granted, you could say that disses in the past 10 years have had a lot of validity. Rap disses. Like, you talk about, like, yo, I shot this person, I killed this person. You got Dirk talking about doing murder for hires, catching bodies. You got Youngboy talking certain stuff. And then you're seeing all of that stuff materialize. You're like, whoa, hold on. These guys are actually doing what they're rapping about and rapping what they're doing. So you could say that it would create more of an expectation that the lyrics are sober facts. But in this case, what they're saying is that because it's on a track and we have this previous material that has already went to court and has already went to trial, that the average listener is not looking at this and taking it literally. And I agree, but I will also agree that there are many people that actually did take this literally for Drake. Do I think that makes his lawsuit valid? Hell nah. Get that out of here, because we want freedom of speech. We don't want to turn into the UK where they're taking down the best music videos and the best artists. Let them breathe. Let them live. And they even cite a couple of things. But they are right in that it did progressively get heated between both of them. For example, Kendrick said the guy had a daughter. He didn't have a daughter. Drake said that he was with, what was it? He said he potentially put hands. The kids might be Dave Freeze, right? So these two things, we don't know. Me personally, if you were to ask me, yeah, I believe Kendrick Lamar put pause on his his whatever situation that he's been with for a long time. I believe that happened. I don't have any proof of it, but I believe that happened just from all of the not evidence that we've received so far, but just from the information that's come out surrounding that and that's been suppressed surrounding that. But there's no objective proof of it, is what I'm saying. So, and also the kids being Dave Freeze thing, like they're all just throwing stuff at each other. And it says, for example, in Euphoria, Lamar calls Drake a master manipulator and habitual liar and a scam artist. Drake responds in Family Matters by heavily implying that Lamar is a domestic abuser. He always raps that he heard that one of Lamar's sons may not be biologically his, like I just referenced. Why you never hold your son and tell him say cheese? We could have left the kids out of this. Don't blame me. I heard that one of them little kids might be Dave Free. And then it goes on saying, meet the Grams. Lamar takes issue with Drake involving his family members in their feud. Dear Aubrey, I know you're probably thinking I wanted to crash your party, but truthfully, I don't have a hating bone in my body. That's cap. Kendrick Lamar is a bona fide hater. Kendrick Lamar is the type of person where if you got his level of success or higher than him, or any success that he deems respectable, and you didn't get it in the manner that he believes it should have been gotten, then he's going to hate on you. That's just what it is. And it's fine. Listen, I respect somebody that's engulfed in hate, that says, I am the hater. That I can respect. I can get behind completely. But talking about, like, I don't have a hating bone in my body, let's stop it. There was a lot of hate for Drake. This is supposed to be a good exhibition within the game, but you effed up the moment you called out my family's name. Why you had to stoop so low to discredit some decent people? And this is why I always said Drake does not deserve any sympathy for this situation for getting as far as it got, because he knows that this is something that was in the back pocket of Kendrick Lamar, because people have been talking about Drake behaving quote unquote weirdly for many years now. And while I do disagree with that narrative, it's something that could have been used, and he took it to the point where it would be acceptable for Kendrick Lamar to use. And in that same track, Lamar alleges that Drake uses the weight loss drug Ozempic. Don't cut them corners like your daddy did. F what Ozempic did. Don't pay to play with them Brazilians. Get a gym membership. Lamar also insinuates that Drake knowingly hires offenders. Grew facial hair because he understood being a beard just fit him better. He got offenders on Hovio that he keep on a monthly allowance. Now, they just said being a beard just fit him better. I don't know if that was a beard as in a beard to cover up the fact that the dude likes men. So I don't think the lawyers caught that. I'm willing to give that credit to that bar for Kendrick Lamar as well. So yeah, while I would love to sit here and look through the rest of this 20 pages of them just breaking down song lyric by song lyric, we're just going to go through one more tiny piece that I think is relevant before closing this up. They say there are a number of flaws with this argument. Plaintiff contends that the court should not consider those tracks in assessing how the average listener would perceive the allegations. Not Like Us cannot be viewed in isolation, but must be placed in its appropriate factual context. Here, the factual context is the insults and trash talking that took place via these diss tracks in the days and weeks leading up to the publication of Not Like Us. The songs released during this rap battle are in dialogue with one another. They reference prior songs and then respond to insults and accusations made by the rival artist. The songs thus must be read together to fully assess how the general audience would perceive the statements in the recording. This is facts. Holding that two newspaper articles be read together to understand full context. So yeah, they got rid of this. We have yet to receive a statement from Drake, but a UMG spokesperson said the following. From the outset, this suit was an affront to all artists and their creative expression, and never should have seen the light of day. We're pleased with the court's dismissal and look forward to continuing our work successfully promoting Drake's music and investing in his career. This is how you sun somebody. And I don't know how Drake feels about this, because Drake can do this to everybody else, but UMG, and granted, UMG is a conglomerate, it's an entity, it's beyond just an individual, but they're like, listen, you can sit back down, go back to making your music, and we'll go back to promoting it and getting paid off of it, whilst you get paid as well. But this whole like cranky, like misbehaving thing, we don't like that. They just offered him they just gave him a little spanking, held him upside down, spanked him a little bit, let him know who's boss, left him red, and then said, hey, look, once you recover, let's get back to doing what we do best, which is making bangers. So here, this is over. Drake fans, hopefully they're able to just take this L gracefully, which it doesn't seem like they will be able to do, but I don't think Kendrick fans will be able to take that L either. Listen, the man's lost. They were trying to say oh no, he's up for another deal, so he's going to use the results of this as leverage to get $1 billion music deal. Well, that's not happening. The leverage is gone. The case got dismissed, and there's no way that you guys are going to co-sign him coming back and trying to get this appealed, when we really know that the person that he wanted to sue this entire time was Kendrick Lamar. And it's for Not Like Us. It's not for UMG. It's not for all the artists in the building. It's not for none of that garbage. It is specific. And I'm going to be real. Even UMG making that statement talking about like, oh, this was an affront to all artists. Yeah, they're correct. And their creative expression, yeah, they're correct. But they don't feel that way. They're just using that to give a better statement. So all parties involved are only interested in the self. Drake is interested in himself and his reputation, which frankly I don't care too much about. I care about Drake music. Drake music, fire. Whatever's going on in his personal life, as long as I do care. Stop painting the nails. Yeah, stop doing that. But regardless, UMG, their interest is making sure that songs like these release. And my interest is making sure that I get heaters to listen to in my spare time. So really, me and UMG are aligned here. That's why I'm with UMG on this one. Now, if UMG is doing some other BS and they're screwing over an artist that I mess with and he can't drop music to serve me, to serve my interest, then we've got a problem, UMG. But never on God's green earth would I sacrifice my interests for Drake's. What has Drake done for me? Get the hell out of here. Get back to making music, and I will get back to listening. Well, he has been making music and dropping music, so I will say that. Also, am I the only one who What Did I Miss really grew on him? I really enjoy that song now. The first time I heard it, I was like, okay, this is all right. And then I didn't listen to it for a while, and then it started playing in different places I was at, and then I started listening to it again. I was like, damn. Yo, this song kind of heat. I mess with this. So shout out to UMG for letting their nuts hang. Word to 6ix9ine, letting people know who's boss, and getting back to allowing diss tracks to exist. Because if Drake won this, it would have been disaster for us. They're going to go back to other diss tracks. Any diss track that comes in the future, they're going to need to review the lyrics to make sure that the other party can't sue. It would have just been a whole mountain of BS. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. And I'm going to see y'all on the next one.